Wow. Wow. That is over the top. All right, welcome back to part 2 of our dandelion wine. I just finished it, but in this video, we're gonna show you how we finished it. I tell you, I don't know if you can see the color on it, but it's almost like a pale yellow. It's beautiful. I can't wait to try it, but you gotta wait till the end. So let's stop the rambling and just get on with how we got to this point. And make sure you're following us on Instagram and click the notification bell and subscribe if you're not, because the wine we're doing after this one is gonna be incredible.
So pour me one more glass of dandelion wine. Preachers and dreamers, they both believe.
Look at this dandelion wine. It's looking really good. All right, so it's been about 30 days since we put it in the primary to the secondary, and it's starting to clear up. There's not much sediment at the bottom that you can see, but man, I gotta smell this right now. Oh, it smells very good. I smell the lemon and orange in there. That's what's gonna make this recipe great. But for now, it's time to get this racked into our sanitized carboy. You're gonna watch here. We sanitized all our equipment and our new carboy, and we're gonna add some bentonite because there's not much sediment in here. I'm gonna hit it with bentonite right now. Now, when you mix bentonite, make sure you're using according to your package. For this, it says for a 5-gallon batch, you use 2 teaspoons in a half a cup of water. So I'm gonna half that. I got a 1/4 cup of water, and I'm gonna put 1 teaspoon of bentonite in there. Now, a lot of you asked, why don't I use that super clear? I love super clear, but I love bentonite too. I use that super clear when I got a tough batch. But for now, there's not much sediment in here and not many fine particles. So that's why I'm using bentonite. Now, make sure you're sanitizing. You see I got a squirt bottle. I've already sanitized my fork here and everything else I'm touching. Now, all we're gonna do is mix this bentonite and we're gonna stir it until it becomes like a slurry. That's what we wanna do. Milkshake consistency, so we can put it at the bottom of our new carboy that we've sanitized. So there we go. I hope you can see that. It's kind of like a milkshake. That's what you want. And now we're gonna put it into our carboy that's been sanitized. Now, you may have lumps in this. Don't worry about it. We're gonna be stirring this for a couple of days. All right, now I got my sanitized racking cane. We're gonna take the airlock off. I'm gonna put this down in my carboy down below that has that bentonite in it. And then we're gonna just get this siphon going just like this. And there we go. We got it going down to our carboy. Now, since this is only a 1-gallon batch, this is gonna happen fairly quickly. And remember, we're trying to get the sediment out of the bottom of this. So we want to stay far away from the bottom. And we're going to tilt this as we go because we want to get as much out as possible. And that's it. Look at this sediment we got out. You see the sediment here? That's what we want. All that dead yeast. That's what we want to get out. Now, you see, we got a little bit of headspace. That's hardly anything. But I'm just going to put a little bit of water in because oxygen is your enemy at this point. Make sure you're watching my oxygen video if you don't know what I mean. You also notice I got that airlock on there fairly quickly. I'm just going to add just a little bit of water, very little, to bring it up because I got to be able to make sure I can get my stir stick in here. That's plenty. Now, what I got here, oh my God, that smells incredible. I should taste it, but I'm not going to. But don't be afraid to test it in every single phase. So what we're gonna do is sanitize this, and we wanna get this bentonite that you're gonna see all over this container and stirred in. That's gonna charge up the particles and draw everything to the bottom. And we're gonna stir it for the next 3 to 5 days. So there we go. You can see it getting mixed in there. I'm gonna try and scrape a little bit from the sides that I can see, but that's all we're gonna do. Stir it, charge these particles for 3 to 5 days. And then we're going to let it sit for another 30 to 45 days, because that, if it's clear enough, is when we're going to bottle it, which is always the best part in winemaking. Reverse direction. Now, I also get a lot of questions, why don't I degas my wine? Number one, it's really not necessary. But in this phase, you can see the bubbles coming up. As I'm stirring that bentonite, it's doing some degassing for us. If you do research, you'll find that most commercial winemakers do not degas their wine. So it's a controversy. Do you do it or not? I know it's being done right here. If you need to do it, I think that's pretty good. We'll come back in 24 hours and we'll do it again. I won't bore you with all that. Let's just fast forward and see what this looks like in 30 days. And sanitize your airlock. You make sure you do this each time and sanitize that paddle in between when we're gonna stir this bentonite in. Another thing sometimes I forget to say, you want to keep this in a dark place. You don't want direct sunlight hitting this. So I'll either wrap this in a towel or put it down in a dark basement, which is my preference. All right, today's the day I've been waiting for. This wine is ready. This is the Dandelion wine. It's been setting in this bentonite for about 40 days, and it's time to get it racked, bottled, and taste this. I can't wait. So let's get some sugar on the stove. We want to make a simple syrup with about a cup of water and a cup of sugar, and we'll slowly add this. We'll show you when we get there, but let's get that going. All right, we're measuring out a cup of sugar. Now, we're not going to use all this sugar because I want a light sweetness to this Dandelion wine. But just in case, I like to do a little extra rather than have to make another batch. All right, there you go. You can see I got all the sugar melted here. You don't want to boil this because that's just going to give your wine an off taste. So just shut this off and let it cool to room temperature. Now, in the bottling stage, we're going to only need 2 additives to finish this off. Maybe 1. You definitely want to use Camden tablets because that's going to take care of any bacteria control that you might have had happen during the process. So don't skip these. And the other one is potassium sorbate, since we're back sweetening it. If you're not back sweetening and you think this wine is dry, you don't need this. But I got links to all this stuff in the description if you need anything. Let's get some bottles and get our equipment sanitized and get this racked. All right, we're gonna need about 5 bottles to make this 1 gallon of wine, so we have enough bottles. I'm gonna put 6 in here, and I always do 1 extra bottle in case of a mishap. So we're hoping to get a little bit more than 5 bottles of wine out of this 1 gallon batch. So now we want to get these additives in our bucket. I've got the first thing, Camden tablets. We want 1 tablet per gallon, so I got 1 here, and we're just gonna crush it up between 2 sanitized spoons. Again, sanitize. Get that in the bottom of our bucket. And then what we want to do is we want to add our potassium sorbate. We need a half a teaspoon of this per gallon. Again, we're making a 1 gallon batch. All we need is a half of this, just like that. Now the fun begins. We can get this airlock finally off. Oh, it smells great. And we're going to get our siphon going here. I got my bucket down here. I put the additives in, and we're just going to start a siphon and get the wine going down into these additives. The reason I'm putting it into a bucket is because we're going to back sweeten it, and I find it a lot easier to do it in there to manage, and then we'll work in that bucket to get it into our bottles. Now, when we get down here, we want to stay far away from this bentonite. And be careful when you're moving these carboys because you can stir it up pretty easy, which I did in this case. So I might have a little bit of fine particles in there. That's okay. If it's got a couple particles, that's fine. I'm continuing on. It's funny, I had a subscriber tell me the other day that in her country, if your wine is not cloudy, it's not good wine. So depending on different cultures, they do it different ways. It smells incredible. You just really smell that lemon and that orange we put in this. And what I'm going to do is when it gets down to the bottom here, I'm going to slowly tilt this until that bentonite starts to slide. And these little racking canes, they have a tip to help you along in this process. So here we go. I'm going to start tilting it. I don't want any sediment. That's what the goal is here. Get as much wine as you can, but don't be afraid to waste it also. There we go. That's it. I'm done. Now you noticed here, I got my lid. I put a sanitized lid on this bucket very quickly because we want to keep as much oxygen out as possible at this time. And do you see the gunk we got out? Don't get that into your wine. Be a professional. Now it's time for the fun. The fun is going to start because we get to start to taste this. Oh, I hate this lid. There we go. Now remember, we added those additives in here and we want to get those stirred in at this point. So I'm sanitizing my paddle. I'm going to let it sit on there. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of our simple syrup at a time. Taste it until you want. If you want dry, bottle it right now. Maybe 1 or 2. Maybe you do 2 semi-dry and 2 sweet. But I know where my wife wants it. She's out shopping for a wedding today. Gently stir these additives in. You don't want to stir vigorously at this point, even when we're adding our simple syrup. So there we go. We got that mixed in good. Now what we want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of simple syrup. Remember, we've got about a cup of sugar and a cup of water in here. I know I'm just going to start with putting about half of it in, and we'll stir it in and we'll taste that. I don't know, I want to kind of get this a little bit semi-dry. We don't want it totally dry and we don't want it sweet. So right in about in the middle is what I want. All right, so I'm going to sanitize my straw here because anything you're putting into your wine, you want to make sure it's sanitized. All right, so there we go. I'm going to taste this. We stirred that sugar in. Wow, dandelion wine. That is good. It's not quite sweet enough, but keep adding until you get it to where you want. I can tell you one thing. It's a strong wine, and you get a little bit of that floral table. That's what you want with dandelion wine, a little bit of floral and that lemon and orange. So I'm just going to continue to add to where I think I'm going to like it and enjoy it. And my wife, that's pretty good. I don't know. Do I add the rest? I know she's going to want it. It's not much. I'll just add half of this. That's done. That's perfection. Dandelion wine. Let's get this bottle. I'm hoping to have a little bit extra for my wife get home and we can see what she says about it. All right, here we go. This is the best part of winemaking. It's putting it all together. You just work 2 months on this dandelion wine or whatever wine you're making, and let's just finish bottling and corking these. So there you go. You can see we got 5 bottles of wine out of this 1 gallon batch, but I'm not done yet. I want to do the taste test and see what this is like. I was hoping for extra, but we didn't get any. And if you're not following us on our other channel, Along for the Journey, it's going to be linked in the description. We do all kinds of crazy stuff on there. So here it is. There's our 5 bottles of dandelion wine. This is the one everybody wants to make as a winemaker because they're free. Now I want to taste this. I had this one in the refrigerator, so let's get it opened up. Make sure you check out my wine gadgets for this thing. Ooh, it smells really good. It smells, you really get that lemon and that orange smell. Now, this, of course, will get better with age, but I just had to save this bottle and try this now. You'll see in a future video where we test these and taste these. I'm far behind on these, but so there you can kind of see it. It's like a pale yellow color. It's exactly what a dandelion wine should look like. Oh, let me tell you, that is really good. And I can't wait to try it in 6 months from now. That is over the top. Now, I don't know what a dandelion tastes like, but it's funny. It has kind of like a strange aftertaste, something that's very unusual in a wine. So that's where I kind of figure you get the dandelion taste, but it is good. So the only thing left that I like to do, and make sure you do this, is you want to lay your wine bottles on their side in some kind of container, just in case you have some mishap and a bottle breaks. So there we go. That's it. We'll let it like this for about, 7 to 10 days, and then we'll get it down on our wine rack. So I hope you like this video. That's part 2. That's a wrap on our dandelion wine. If you didn't get to see part 1 where we got this all put together, make sure you see it. I'll have a link in the description. But for now, let's just enjoy this and have a great day.
So pour me one